Welcome to That Autism Thing, a podcast series which takes a look at autism and Aspergers from the perspective of care workers, support workers, and family and friends. My name is Callum Ronan, and I'm a radio producer at the BBC, and I also run my own creative agency called Callum Ronan Creative. In this edition of That Autism Thing, we take the perspective of what it's like to be a dad with a son who's autistic. This week, I chat to my dad. He's called Andrew, and for 26 years he's been guiding and supporting me.
Autism would be, I think it's a gift, a very special gift.
And why do you think it's special?
I just do. I think, I think it all comes in various forms, but all the people that I've known over many years that have had autism or parents that have been dealing with autism, I think that they've been lucky in some ways, because I think it just, they're great people. I think it's, like I say, it comes all in different forms, severe autism and like yourself, where to me, we just live with it. And like I say, I just think it's special.
For you, what was that first sort of a few moments of when somebody said to you, your son's got autism? What was that like for you?
It was difficult, but whichever way you were going to be, you were always going to be my son, whether, however you would have been, you'd have always been my son. I think it wasn't, to me, it wasn't life-changing. It was, right, this is, in the funny sort of way, it was, I think it was a relief in some ways, because there were a lot of things, compared to your brother that you did, and at first we thought, well, this is how we did it with Declan, and it didn't seem to work for you. Now every child's different, but there were certain sort of things that were going on that couldn't be answered, and I don't think we were banging his head against a wall, but we were thinking up to a point where we were going wrong, and in the end, when we got the diagnosis that you were autistic, it was a relief, really, that it wasn't anything that we were doing wrong. It was how it was going to be. And
for you, it didn't faze you, I'm guessing.
No, it didn't. No. I was concerned because it was detected very young. We didn't really know exactly as to what level of autism really it was going to be. I guess we were very fortunate. We do know other families and other children, as from when you grew up and you were going to school and one thing and another. We know other families that had more severely autistic children, and even to this day, I don't think there's a week that goes by that I think to myself about, I wonder how those other children are doing in their lives.
What role do you think you've played as my dad? What do you think has been your role in sort of bringing up somebody with autism?
Well, I'd like to think, like with any parent, it's been guiding you, steering you through some very difficult times, through school and, school, college, university. You were, in my eyes, very independent, which was sort of a test, not a test, but, it was our first time that we'd separated as a very close family, and university was to me was an indicator of how you're going to cope in the future.
Having that independence, so coming to now, seeing that independence for you, what was that feeling like to see me go to university and then put the gown and cap on at the end?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I was so proud. It was, from being told that he possibly couldn't read and write to, going back many years and searching for a school appropriate for you. We went round schools and, the transport side of things, getting you to these schools, and it's, and to see you then when we went to Chester that time, and, the day that you passed everything, it was unbelievable. It was a day that I never, ever sort of really expected to happen. And, up to a point, I think everybody's was rallying for you. Like I said, it isn't just your mum and I that were there for you. There was, all your school teachers from years ago, and certainly up at St Mary's, that must have been rallying for you. There's Claire Goodchild. They all played a massive part in who you are today.
You're listening to That Autism Thing, a candid conversation from the eyes of people who care and support. What for you was the pivotal moment? It can be any moment, from the beginning, the middle, or up to now.
Yeah.
What for you's been a really great moment for you as a dad?
So I remember bringing you back one day from taking Declan down to school, and I remember you, it's all, to be honest, the special moments in life, in our relationship, they've been funny ones. There's been times that I've thought to myself, certainly when you were younger, so for instance, the day that you told, at 2 years old, very few words and bits and pieces that you had, but the day that I got you out of the pushchair and I said to you, open the gate up to let me in with the pushchair, and you turned around to me and said, no, Daddy, that's your responsibility. And I think to myself, I just stood there and thought, this is a 2-year-old kiddie telling me that job is my responsibility. And there's been numerous moments like that, that I think to myself, we shouldn't look at autism as being, but I can understand those parents who might be listening to this that are thinking to themselves, struggling with an autistic child. Like I said earlier on, we're very lucky that you are as you are, and I do understand that there's lots of parents out there going through sleepless nights and crashing, banging about and bits and pieces, and we did too. We went through that as well, the screeching and but thinking back, every day I feel so lucky that we have had the life that we've had. There's never been a time that I've ever thought this autism thing is just getting on top. Every day, and I guess up to a point, your mum and I, good relationship, and we've had as parents, your nana and granddad did a lot when you were younger, but it's been such a good life. I can't fault. We do have his moments, don't we?
Oh, we do. We are alike,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes we will get stuck in a moment using a U2 reference. But we get there. We do
get there. We do get there, and how can I put it? We do have difficult times, even now. That for any parent, for somebody maybe who doesn't know autism, and you think up to a point, there are people that think, they'll grow out of it. You never grow out of it, but as a parent with an autistic child, you grow into it. I think you adapt, and all those things that maybe other people see that think, God, I couldn't live with this, or I couldn't live with that. People do adapt and grow into an autistic family.
And do you think what made you adapt to that from when the diagnosis to now? How have you adapted as a dad?
I've become a lot more understanding, and there's times I think what you've got to do is you've got to stand back and you've got to look at it a completely different way. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying stuff like that? And there's times even now that I think to myself, maybe you haven't seen it, or you haven't understood. We went through a phase where we were at cross purposes a little bit because of phrasing. A phrase that you didn't understand that maybe I was saying, and then I'm stood back thinking, why hadn't he done this, or why hadn't he done that? And it was all down to something extremely simple that was misunderstood. I haven't got an example of it, I'm afraid to say, because there's been that many of them.
Yes.
And that is part of, adapting. We've all adapted to understanding autism.
You're listening to That Autism Thing, a candid conversation about autism. Now, as somebody who's been a parent, you've seen your son go to university, graduate.
Yeah.
What do you see as your role now, as your son is now an adult?
Right, my role now is to, up to a point, take a little bit of a back seat, and all the things that we've put in place in the past, I want to see come out in the future. As I've always said to you, there'll be one day that maybe we won't be here, and out of everything that goes on in my life and the work side of things and bits and pieces, the one thing that I want to be assured of is that you in the future will be able to cope, and however your life pans out, and up to a point now, it's for you to steer it. It isn't for your mum and I to be steering it. It's for you to take hold of it and run with it. Just thinking there about, the years of school, and up to a point the traumatic years we've had, because it hasn't been easy at points. Schooling in particular, I think was, and there was so many times that I could have got myself so upset and, gone down to school and, really let off steam. We're talking about the bullying
Side, yes.
side of things, which that if there's